Welcome back. As we earlier said in our intro, we're going to be embarking over the important forum that was taken yesterday, that was Thursday, and was attended by His Excellency Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, who gave a very impressive speech through which he assessed the activities taken by the government and the private sector, and collaboration over 7 years of collective activities. The title of the forum came under Local Administration Reform and Empowerment Forum, Lessons that are learned and experiences that are acquired, and that was taken also, it was held in the new capital. Of course, His Excellency the Prime Minister talked about 7 years of continuous and digital work that was taken by the government, in addition, in collaboration with the private sector and also with the partnership of the World Bank. And there was a documentary that was shown that featured all that. Very delighted to be having with us here in the studio Dr. Nadim. Samna is an economic expert. Good morning, Dr. Samna.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir? We are talking about that forum that was taken yesterday in the new capital, where His Excellency the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli embarked about very important steps, and he hailed personally the significant steps that were taken, the reform program that was taken in Upper Egypt, and he talks about the total number of parts that is shared in this development, Upper and Lower Egypt. If you like to start off with this.
Well, it's a huge project, for sure. The scale of this kind of initiative is huge, serving, I think, 8 million citizens. So normally with this scale you need the collaboration and the cooperation of many stakeholders. So the government, international development agencies, several ministries in the government, and it has a lot of dimensions. You have the economic dimension, you have the social dimension, you have, let's say, the human development dimensions. And this is why it is celebrated with the presence of several ministers and even foreign stakeholders.
Right. He talked about the upgrade of the facilities and services that are exerted or given by the government to the citizens in Upper Egypt, and he hailed the quality of services that was really improved. And he talked about even Hayat Karima, or decent life, and other sectors also. The private sector has a big share. How do you assess the share of, let us talk about the private sector first. Now that when we talk about the private sector, we are talking about a partner with the government that is part and parcel now of the government. It is not detached from the government. Actually, His Excellency Prime Minister Madbouli held his weekly press conference meeting after the cabinet meeting with the ministers, and Dr. Rania Al-Mashat was there, and of course there were lots of reporters and journalists, and he talked with respect and admiration about the role the private sector is playing in development and facilitating services and industry and investment partnerships and everything. So talk to us about the role the current private sector is playing. We're talking about the Egyptian private sector. Of course there is foreign investment.
Yeah, it's more important. I mean, the foreign investment comes after, after the participation of the Egyptian private sector. Well, there is a very simple rule. If the private sector is participating in a project, it means that this project is successful. Very, very simple. The government comes and invests in large infrastructure, let's say, investments and requirements, and then the private sector uses these infrastructure projects to implement really dedicated projects, really adapted to the needs of the local population. When we talk about Hayat Karima, this is very important to have roads, hospitals, schools, and improving and upgrading the standard of, let's say, the population and the services, the government services that the government provides to this population. And once this infrastructure is in place, which is happening with Hayat Karima, the private sector can come and invest and they have this visibility, and they really understand the needs of this local population to be able to serve them and really have this sustainable development. And this is exactly what we are looking for, and the government is also looking for, this sustainable development, how to continue growth forever.
Right, we're talking about 7 years of development, and there was a documentary that was shown in that particular forum that talked in intricate details about what has been taken by the government and the private sector in collaboration with the World Bank, and then I guess partnerships from United Kingdom, and the capacity of development that was effected in only 7 years. He talked about digitalization, he talked about the health services, and he talked also about the vocational education, which is very important in qualifying any country to become a top industrial zone. And he talked also about the logistical area in the Suez Canal and how important is it. And he related all that with the private sector and said the partnership with the private sector does not only serve the private sector, but also help in expanding the national venues and also expanding exportation. How is that happening?
So all what you said is absolutely the scale of achievements of the Egyptian, let's say, country, as a country, so both government and private sector, is humongous in the past 10 years. There's not a lot of countries who experience this kind of development and achievements. Achievements meaning concrete projects implemented on the ground, serving population and really delivering good outputs. So you are mentioning exports. For sure this year we can see a really big surge in non-oil exports in Egypt. When you talk about all these, let's say, pieces of a puzzle, it's a puzzle. You need infrastructure for sure, you need logistics, you need transportation, so all this energy, all this is kind of infrastructure. You need education to train and form workers and engineers to go into industry and serve whatever private sector factories are implementing. You also need good health care to improve the health of the whole population. You need social initiatives like Hayya Karima and other projects implemented by the government to be able to provide like a social
network
protection.
and umbrella, of course.
Of course. And it helps the population to better forecast its future, make better decisions because they have a longer term mindset. So all these are pieces of puzzle to develop Egypt, to improve the economy of Egypt, and to really improve the quality of life of all Egyptians.
Mentioning the health insurance, he talked in specific about the steps taken to achieve a full and major health insurance plan that was effected in 14 governorates earlier and through the 7 years, of course, and said he hailed the role that was played by Hayya Karima, or decent life, in the sense of 100 million lives according to the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that also extended its facilities and services to our brothers and sisters in different African countries. So now we said that we are in the coming future, we're going to be covering all the governorates with our insurance plan, major insurance plan, and until then Hayya Karima is doing the whole work. How positive could this be? Could this be more than this? I mean, it's a real pride to find that presidential initiatives are giving all those services and covering all those facilities for the citizens, especially in the far governorates like Upper Egypt, Qina, El-Minya, Suhag. If you like to elaborate over this.
So you're mentioning several, let's say, healthcare related initiatives. So 100 million صحة is definitely a huge success. Huge success to be able to eliminate the virus C infection in Egypt. And before this project, the infection rate was about 10%. 10% of the population had virus C. And after this project, it's like zero something. So really, really very, very small in just 10 years. So this is a huge success. The universal healthcare system, so I think it's already implemented in 6 governorates, and the second phase will start soon or already started. It's also another huge project. So it's still in, let's say, in the implementation phase. It concerns all Egyptians because it's the universal healthcare. So it's really a large-scale project. Knowing that it started and we were hit with COVID crisis and
2019, of course.
During let's say 22 and 24, let's say financial crisis that Egypt was facing. So all these challenges didn't diminish the willingness of the Egyptian government to implement such social projects.
Right. Let me take also this opportunity to take a flashback and remind ourselves that we did not only conquer the virus C, the government or the nation or the Egyptian administration with our strong will and persistence, but we have eliminated virus C, and we had, and this was taken with admiration and a lot of hailing by the WHO. Even the chairman of the WHO had just mentioned that, and we are also manufacturing the medication now, and we are exporting it to other countries. And
97% of all medicines used by the Egyptian population are produced in Egypt.
Exactly. That is one good thing that could be taken in our record as one leap and taken in a very little span of time. But also talking about, you talked about another important point, which is how this has expanded to giving different services, like 100 million lives, like the health initiative for women and children also, and breast cancer and obesity and dwarfism, and building the Egyptian character in general, human development. Prime Minister Madbouli talked about human development, and when he talked about human development, which was really very respectable to be handling it from that angle, he said that human development is focusing over not only a certain type of education, but all types of education. And he mentioned the vocational education, vocational training. He talked about the partnership with different institutions, especially the Italian institutions that have their reputation with vocational training, and he asserted and assured that this type of schools and universities are going to give an international certificate to the graduates so that they could be expertise and they could be holding businesses or working, finding more job opportunities in general.
So you're mentioning, the vocational education. It was one of the points, let's say, where the Egyptian educational system was a little bit weak. And so this is why the government decided to partner with the private sector to fill this gap and to really provide a very adjusted and adapted education to fit and match the needs of, let's say, the private sector and particularly the industrial private sector. This is why you can find in the past, let's say, 2 or 3 years, many dedicated education institutions opened by the private sector, of course in collaboration with the government. When you mention, well, the private, the Italian experience here in Egypt is well known for decades now, so this is also very important experience to build on and to generalize in the whole Egyptian governance.
That's true. Not mentioning, of course, the job opportunities that are going to be offered, even here domestically speaking, for youth. And this is not only going to happen out of establishing the vocational education, but also the new industrial zones that are established in many governorates. And the green economy, I mean the culture of green economy that is going to link us with the international world and give us that particular reputation to be able to compete internationally. Those are all new venues that are going to be opened for the Egyptian. Mentioning the Egyptian economy also, we have implemented a very successful economic reform program over years that was opposed by some people, but now we're bearing its fruits. You talked about also the economic reform plan. When we talk about establishing a whole network of new infrastructure, that is empowering our plan of future and economic partnerships with the foreign investment and all that. Is that really going to boost it? Or how, let me put the question in a different way, how important is establishing a network of infrastructure going to boost and empower investment in Egypt and industry?
Well, it's very simple. Any investor, local or foreign, wants to be able to transport its production as fast as possible, either to domestic let's say consumption centers, urban or industrial parts, or to be able to export through seaports. So this is why you have, I think this year in particular, you have this infrastructural plan very, very clear. So you have the development of 14 seaports over the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. You have the dry ports that are supporting the industrial zones, and then you have the railroad infrastructure that is currently being built. So the first phase of the high-speed train is delivered and entered the operational trials. So this railroad network will connect all seaports, all dry ports, and the 60 major cities in Egypt. So this is a big plan. This is a big plan, and making, let's say, to be able to transport any kind of goods from Upper Egypt all the way to the Mediterranean in just a few hours, it's a huge success. And it will save a lot of money for industrials. And it was always the challenge how to be able to export the production as quickly as possible to Europe or Asia or Africa, at the same time to be close to the population centers, to be able to hire workers and be able to expand factories. And this plan has the major aim is to create more and more jobs, to be able to lift the population out of poverty, to be able to provide financial revenues to the population.
The importance of Upper Egypt in the sense of cities like Qana, Sohag, Asyut and Al-Minya have always been important. One angle, when we talk about Upper Egypt, we talk about history, we talk about a lot of awareness amongst its citizens, we talk about natural resources. How can we describe development in Upper Egypt, and why is the Prime Minister so keen on empowering local development in Upper Egypt and upgrading the services for its people and citizens, and injecting a lot of opportunities into that particular sector in the country?
Well, it's something that to be noted that the levels of poverty in Upper Egypt governorates were higher than, let's say, the rest of the country. Why? Well, because Upper Egypt was enclaved. It's further away from ports to be able to export. So industrials, they prefer to, let's say, to place their factories in other regions than Upper Egypt. This is why.
Maybe it's because it's densely populated. That's why they have to locate factories away according to environmental restriction and precautions, and because of environmental awareness.
No, I don't think so. I mean, all the industrials who implemented their factories in Upper Egypt are very happy to be able to be close to the centers of population. I mean, local brands, international brands.
But now this is not happening anymore, because this is against the international standards, because we're trying to catch up with green economy and with minding all the hazards of climate change and respecting the environment and all that, and we are establishing industrial zones already. So I'm talking about the qualities of Upper Egypt. It's like treasures to the Egyptians. If you'd like to elaborate on how important and dear is that part of our land.
Well, Upper Egypt holds effectively many resources. So you have, of course, the tourism in Luxor, Aswan, and all around Upper Egypt, and you have a lot of different monuments that are waiting to be discovered by local and foreign tourists. Upper Egypt is also close to the eastern and western deserts that holds a lot of mining resources. So it is very important also to develop these mining resources using the population of Upper Egypt. You have, of course, agriculture. This is also, I mean, Minya, for example, was a really important axe to develop agriculture in Upper Egypt, and we can expand a little bit more in Western Desert and oasis. I mean, you can consider also Toshka part of Upper Egypt, so it is important to develop agriculture. So definitely you have a lot of resources, and now with the development of infrastructure, the government created industrial zones in Upper Egypt to be able to provide also jobs for the population of Upper Egypt.
That's true. How do you see, or how do you assess another way, the future planning of the local development and the services of local development and of the government in particular, in collaboration with the private sector? Is there a clear map that is because the Prime Minister talked about it, and he talked about international parts are also sharing in that particular map, in the future map. How do we expect it? Well,
I believe there is a clear map. Maybe it needs to be communicated a little bit more so everybody understands this map. And when you are talking about the private sector, it's important for them to adopt this map and to plan their own investments according to this map. This is very important. But we can see this on the ground with the projects being delivered. How this map will look like. We are talking about the energy map, we are talking about the railroad map, we are talking about the industrial map with all the industrial zones. So it is not just clear and visible, it's already on the ground.
On that note,
I think the challenge, when we are talking about local development, the challenge is how to empower local officials and local responsibles to make their decisions, because they really know, they are on the ground and they really know what is important. And the central officials in the ministries, in the new capital, how they can coordinate their efforts.
Embrace all those
yes,
efforts.
This is the real challenge.
And only one basket, as they say. On that note, of course, Dr. Nadim Samna, the economic expert, would like to thank you so much coming over to the Breakfast Show.
Thank you for having me.
It was nice having you. It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the Breakfast Show, so stay with us.